Hey guys, how's it going? Elliot here again, and in today's video we are going to be doing a teardown of the DigiRetroBoy. Now this is a brand new console that is, well, from what I can gather, just come out, which Brandon, my friend Brandon, ordered and decided to make a review on. I'm actually currently at Brandon's using his studio, so thank you very much Brandon, and also you can check out his review of this console in the top of the description. But one of the things I really wanted to do was take it apart and see what's inside. One of the main reasons being, this thing actually plays official Game Boy Advance cartridges. So if I just pop this in here, oh, there we go, and turn it on. And as I said, if you want to see the full review, go over to Brandon's video. And look at that, it auto scales it into the correct resolution, volume slider on the side, and then you can go ahead and play. It's very similar to the Revo K101. However, I feel like this is just quite a little bit better. It doesn't have quite the same scaling issues. In order to get like an accurate scaling, you have much bigger black bars because it used a potentially like a camcorder screen as opposed to like a bespoke screen specifically made for this. So this plays at a much nicer resolution and looks fantastic in my opinion. There's very little to no frame rate drops at all. In fact, I don't think I've actually experienced one, but I don't want to say that there's none in case one of you guys do see one. I'll show you what it does when you play a Game Boy Color game, for example. So just like the Superboy for the SNES, kind of adds this little bezel around the side, and then you have Pokemon on a modern Game Boy type thing. Really, really cool. But I wanted to see what was inside it. It's got a 1000 milliamp hour battery, which is really, really cool. It could potentially be like the Nokia clone ones, like everything else, but let's go ahead and see what's inside it. I doubt it's going to have an original battery, because usually when companies make things like this, they try and be as economic as possible and use existing things. So I'm going to guess that it might actually be an official Game Boy battery, knockoff rather, not a official one, but no, I'm wrong. It's a Nokia clone battery. That is really what I expected, actually, to be honest, a Nokia battery, which is really good because that means if you... Oh, look at that though. They've actually gone ahead and put their own sticker on there. That's really, really interesting, but this is a Nokia clone battery, so if you want to get another one of these so you can carry multiple with you, you can do that, but I dig the fact that they put a sticker on there. That's so fancy. So the next thing we'll do is we'll just remove the 4 screws around the outside and see what's inside it. Obviously not made with the intention of people taking it apart, but that's okay, because we're going to take it apart anyway. There we go. Brandon's in the other room editing. He would not like to have seen me doing this to his £100 console, but there we go. So the back lifts off just like that, and here we have the board. So this looks much more like it. A lot of the PCBs that we've seen in the past are like a brown colour, super, super cheap. There's the N and R buttons, just flinging off. So these are proper little micro switches. They're clicky, but you could switch them out for some different ones if you wanted to. There's the ribbon cable for the screen, but it looks like everything important is going to be on the other side. So that's probably not something we're going to be able to look at right now. I will have to remove some further screws. So here is the board right here, absolutely extremely well designed. This is definitely not any sort of cheap thing by any means. You can see the whole thing has been completely designed specifically for this. An interesting thing is on the corner up there it says iGameBoy, so maybe this was going to be licensed as something else. I'm not entirely sure. They've also put a big black blob over here, so that is a cheap chip essentially. As opposed to this surface mounted one here. It's more inconspicuous, so people can't like straight up clone this. So very interesting that they did that. I imagine this down here is the power chip, because it's separate and a bit more isolated. And then obviously we've got, this will probably be the RAM chip up here, and then I imagine that would be the CPU. I think other than that, it's pretty much self-explanatory. It looks absolutely fantastic. It's really, really nice to see that companies are making these things on an actual professional level. Obviously, we're so used to seeing companies in China making cheap knockoff things to try and, just get on the market from aesthetically pleasing looking things. So if they make a Game Boy that looks good, but obviously the software is good, then it's not exactly great. So props to them for actually making something legit. It's really, really cool that they've done this, and they've definitely put a lot of thought into it. It's not something that has some sort of bodge software. It actually has very well, nice finished, polished up products. They've even gone to the extra mile to put their own sticker on it. As I said, on the battery, they've even put a little sticker on the battery, which is just totally, not necessary. I mean, I don't know how many people were even going to have taken this apart, but they've done it. So yeah, let's go ahead and put the whole thing back together. One of the things we spoke about in Brandon's video was if you wanted to make one of these yourself, per se, how much would it cost to do that? So if you wanted to buy a Game Boy Advance and put a backlit screen in it, that probably comes to about 50, 60 pounds. You can probably do it around about that price depending on where you buy the parts from. If you were to buy a pre-made one, if you didn't have the experience, for example, to actually make one yourself, or you didn't have a soldering iron, or you didn't want to risk it, whatever, that's probably going to break even. But then you don't have the availability of the ROM cartridge, which it comes with, to allow you to play the different genres and the different platforms. So if you wanted to play Sega Master System or Game Gear, you're going to struggle to emulate that onto a Game Boy. I'm not even sure that you can do that if that's actually an option. So there's a lot of things to consider. Obviously, £100 is a lot of money for a fake, somewhat knockoff product. But I really think this thing has actually outdone itself. Interestingly, they haven't put a spring on the L&R button. It's just a bent bit of plastic. So again, that will save the money, but very innovative nonetheless. So let's go ahead and put that back on. So the last thing to do is just put the 4 screws around the back in, and then it's back together. So it'd be really interesting to know what your thoughts are on this, and if you think that this is better than the Revo K101, if you think this is better than modded Game Boy, and also, whilst you're at it, what would you play a Game Boy game on? What is your peripheral of choice to play your Game Boy games? I'd love to hear. Do you emulate them? Do you stick to the OG, or do you PC it? Do you play it on the PC or something like that? Let me know, please, because I would be very interested to know. Thank you very much for watching this video, and I will catch you in the next one. I shaved my head. Peace.